Dr. Adarsh, we can start now.
Right, sir. Thank you. Uh, Good afternoon, students. Welcome to today's session. In yesterday's session, you have what I came to know is you have covered the cybersecurity and forensics, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA trial, phishing, the ATM cloning, identity thefts, malvertisement, and web spoofing. So these topics you have covered in your yesterday session. So today's session is another an introductory session of data security and Wireshark. In UPS, we offer various courses in cyber security. So it's very wide area. So in a 1 week workshop, it is difficult to cover every topic. But if you have experience, I mean, if use UPS, you'll explore more such contents in your courses as well. Right. So today's topic is over the data security and the Wireshark. So this is again an introductory topic to data security, various attacks happenings over the data, and Wireshark is the beginning tool. Like I use whenever I teach the courses, I teach the students the hands-on over the Wireshark first because it's very easy to understand, and it provides the provision to do the network security experimentation with configurations as well as with the programming. So, but today's section I'll be mainly covering Wireshark with the configuration option. But I'll give you the tutorials if you want. You can study more. I think today's presentation, I'll be starting with introduction to the data security. The CIA tried to have already covered in yesterday class. I'll be revising those contents in a quick session. So I'll take a few minutes to cover the McCumber cube model, which covers the CIA threats and additional cryptographic primitives and protocols. Apart from this, I'll cover the network security controls. So whenever you assess any type of systems, what type of security controls you have to take care of, and it should be there in any organization or any system as well. So and then is like a lot of people are working in network data analysis, and they work in a cyber security also. They analyze the network data and then identify the cyber threats. All of those information comes from the data part. So who helps in exchanging the data and how we can collect the data and what form of data is available in the network. All those parts are covered in the third topic, which is open system interconnected OSI and the protocol stack. So there are set of protocols used in a computer world or a computer network, and all of those systems and the network work in an OSI or TCP/IP model. So I'll give you a quick overlook over the OSI and the TCP model. So although I'll not cover the details, but it's interesting to cover those details because more you get into, more you get the knowledge. So, but in this the bachelor degree in cybersecurity, IoT, or other domains, there is a complete course called a computer network which covers OSI, TCP, IP models, and DPS. It covers every type of protocol and working as well. Then is the information gathering experimentations. There are few hands-on. I'll start with the information gathering experimentation. So whenever as an attacker you want to perform some attacks, the first information is to collect the information about the domains. For example, if any terrorist is interested to attack on a geographical location, they collect the map of the geographical locations, how many people are there, what are their roles. So they try to gather the basic information. Similarly, in a computer network, but if some attacker is interested to attack over any system or a group of system, he will first collect the basic information. Using those information, it can harm the system or a network. So we'll see what informations are easily available over the internet and what are the toolkits which we can use for information gathering. And then in continuation to information gathering, the Wireshark will do some experimentation over the Wireshark as well. So this Wireshark also help in information gathering. The collected data can be stored at some point, and then later data analytics, machine learning techniques could be applied. Then after covering a brief of the Wireshark, I'll be covering the few of the well-known cyber attacks like your virus form, this Trojan downloader, ransomware. So those type of attacks, their basic introduction, I will be covering today. And then the certification process and your queries. In certification, if you have login through your proper through email ID and your proper name, so you will be getting the e-certificate as well. And if you're having any queries regarding the UPS or the courses which the UPS offers and or anything related to admission or enrollment or fee structure, anything, the salesperson will help you. And there are contact details given in the query sections. You can take a screenshot of that and you can contact them at any time. Right. So this is the brief agenda of today. So let's start with the basics of the data security. Now, uh, in this slide, there are three pages. First, I would like to point out the first thing is the information states, second is the security services, and third is the security countermeasures. There are three things in this. Now, data or information can have three states. It can be in a memory state it can be in a storage state when it is in memory. It can be in a processing state when processor is processing the data, or it can be a transmission stage when the data is communicated from one system to another system, or it is ready for transmission from one system to another system, either through wired or any of the wireless channels. So data can have three states: a storage state, a processing state, and a transmission state. Now, if you are concerned about the data security, so you have to ensure the data security at all of these states. So the information state on one side of this rubric cube says the three states: the transmission, the storage, and the processing state. And it says that you have to maintain this data or information security at all of these stages. So, who can help you out in securing these stages? So there are the security countermeasures, security services like your this availability, integrity, authentication, confidentiality, and non-reparations. In yesterday class, you have covered the details of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So I'm not going in details of those. So confidentiality, if you do not want to disclose the information, you apply the encryption decryption methods that provide the confidentiality, and integrity is like if you want to ensure that while data is transmitted from one place to another place, there should not be change in the data. So the digital signature mechanisms or the hashing mechanisms would help in maintaining the integrity. Then is availability. So availability is whenever you want to access some resources over the network, the resources and the network should be available. So nobody should be able to deny any kind of service or the resource. So that is ensured through availability property. So all of these words, these terms, the confidentiality, integrity, availability, is having their own words, own word. So they have their own set of protocols, and large number of protocols are developed. So this is not a new technology. It's from so many decades. These terms are developed, and many protocols are designed in each of them. So in cybersecurity domains, in engineering, we cover each of these protocols. The different categories. We cover different categories of protocol in each of these security services. In yesterday class, you might have heard about non-reputation and authentication as well. So, authentication is like there are two type of authentication possible: the user authentication and the message authentication. So, the user authentication says the valid party is allowed to transmit the data. So, that is the user authentication. So, there are protocols like ULM protocol, NEAT and Pure protocol. If you search on this, there are large set of protocols which ensure that only authenticated party is allowed to communicate inside the computer network. Right. So same way is the message authentications. So message authentication is nothing but the integrity part only. It says that there should not be change in the change in the message while the message is in transmission. right? So mainly we use a digital signature to ensure the integrity, and we use hashing and message authentication code for authentication. So, but I've seen that a hybrid approach are used as well. So, a lot of research is being done in each these domains, and large number of protocols are there. If you start exploring, you will came to know those protocol names. A few of the names for hashing, like MD5 SHA, Piccolo, Spongent. So these are the protocols which they use for hashing. Along with hashing, you can use the MAC as well. So, so this was our the authentication. Then there is a non-repudiation also. Non-repudiation, like if there are two parties and one person has or one person or party has sent some message, and non-repudiation ensure that at any stage the party who has sent some message or received some message cannot deny that they have not done any. So somebody has done this, so non-reputation will say that you have done this. You cannot ignore it, right? So there are protocols for non-reputation as well. So these are the security services. You might have gone through these security services in previous sessions. In subsequent sessions also, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, you will come to know these terms in more details. Um, and then the third axis of the rubric cube is about the security countermeasures. The security countermeasure says about the three terms: the training and education, the policy and practices, and the technology part. So whenever you are part of an organization, every organization has their own set of policies and practices. So somebody will say that the RFID card is mandatory for you to enter to a premises, or somebody will say that the biometric is mandatory. So if a guest user is coming, he has to provide all of his identity at the entrance before he is permitted to use the premises, organization premises. So they are proper places, like there is a server room, only administrator is allowed to enter the server room, no other person is allowed. So such kind of policy and practices are there. And so whenever you part of any organization, you should be first trained with their policy and practices, and you have to follow those policy and practices if you want to be the part of your organizations. And then there is a technology part. Now, with the passage of time, the hardware and the software keep on changing. So many advancement occurs even in operating system as well. So those are the technology part. So you should be able to understand, being a software engineer or working in an IT domain. You should understand that what are the latest trends, and what are the vulnerabilities, what are the loopholes of the existing software, how we can overcome this. And this is possible when you have the proper knowledge over the latest technology. So latest technology in terms of software and hardware should be there, whichever is feasible inside your organization. So should be there in your premises. So this is the rubric cube, which says that this rubric cube can be implemented in any system, in any organization. So if somebody has to quantify that what security services my organization is ensuring, he can number each of these rubric cubes. He can say that out of these 40 rubric cubes, I'm satisfying 20, or I'm satisfying 30. So based on that, you can quantify that what type of security level is there in your organization. So this is one type of models. There are many type of certifications and other models available, but at academic level, I usually teach this model for the basics, and it is easy to understand as well. So I'm not going much detail over those aspects, because you will come to know these aspects in subsequent section as well. So coming to the next one, next is the security controls. There are different level of security controls are there to a single system or a group of system. The first one is the access control. So whenever you have login to your laptops, you enter the username and the password. So after entering the username password, you can modify your files. But if you are going to your friend's system, he might have disabled others user to modify the files. For example, let's say you have a laptop and you install the operating system and you're doing your own personal work and you want nobody even in your family, not the father, mother, or your brother, sister should be able to change your files. You should not be able to delete any file, you will not be able to change the location of any files. So what you can do is you can make a new user for each of the family members and you can disable those rights as well. So you will be the administrator of your laptops and everybody else will be able to see your laptop. They can use your laptop, but they will not be able to change states of your laptop. They should not be able to change any of the file or any of the system states, right? So those are comes under fine grade and access control. So similar happen in an organization also. An administrator has the full role and he creates a power users, like he can create a power user for account department who has the right to install software or uninstall some piece of software in account session only. Similarly, in an academic session, there will be a power user. So administrator is the one person, he can delegate the right to other person so he can ease out his work. So those are the power users and they have their own rights. So since this type of access control mechanism is called as the fine grained access control mechanisms which you can apply. This is the first level, access control mechanism. The second part in security control is the identification part. So as you might have seen in your class when your teacher is marking the attendance, if he's saying Rahul and there are two Rahuls in your classroom, then student will say, ma'am, please tell the roll number or the enrollment number. So your roll number and roll number or enrollment number is a unique identity to a student. That way, it would be like the marking of attendance would be much easier, right? So same way in computer worlds also, if somebody want to access the internet service or want to part of the network, he should have a unique numbers, which is nothing but IP addresses. So IPv4 address, IPv6 addresses are common. So those addresses are used in a computer or a computer network to identify the system. So that way they can be easily identified. Similarly, if they are smaller devices, like you want to attach some some device to a network. For example, you want to attach your this mobile phone into a computer world. So one way is you can assign an IP address. That way it assesses the internet facility and it can be connected to your network. The second way is you can connect an RFID chip to this, and RFID will provide a unique identification number. That way also you can connect. So RFID will not be providing the internet service to the mobiles, but they can provide useful information, like what this product is and what are their features. So if the mobile is placed in a shop for selling, then RFID chip is a better way to provide the information. But if it is in a user hand, then IP address is a better. So different identification approaches are there for product identification and connecting to a network. Then is authentication part. Now, authentication is like entering your username and password. So whenever you access any system, you enter the username password, and if username password is valid, then only you are allowed to use the system. So the the username and password is not the one way of it's just one type of authentication. There are many other type of authentication as well. Like if we are going to a university, then we have to mark our attendance. If we are marking attendance, like at some university, RFID chips are there. Uh, uh, each teacher has to carry each employee has to carry a identification card, and he has to swap the card to a machine. So that is another way. So RFID based chips are there, or cards are there which are used to mark the attendance. Similarly, there are biometrics available. So retinal scan, your voice scan, face recognition. So all these are the type of authentication system. They have their own pros and cons. Like password, based authentication is comes under the weak authentication mechanism, because anybody can get the username password. Either they can get the password from the server, because the information is stored in the server. So biometric is comparatively considered as more secure way. So those are the authentication mechanisms. So in the recent world, there is a feature called single sign-on services. Like if you log in to a one system, you are able to access multiple services. For example, if you're having a Gmail account, you can easily access the YouTube. You can easily access the Facebook features. So all these features can be accessed if you're already logged into a Gmail account. So that is a single sign-on services. Uh, uh, Behind single sign-on, there is a complete engineering architecture. Uh, for mobile devices, there are different architecture. For computer networks, it's different architecture. For web platform, it's different architecture. So in different courses in cybersecurity domains, you usually studies these architectures. And then is the authorization. So what you can do after authentication? Once you are ensured that you are the valid user of the network, then what thing you can do inside the network? Whether you can take printout, whether you can access the internet service, whether you are allowed to transfer file from one computer to another. So what operations are allowed? So what things you can do? That is nothing but authorization. Then is the accounting part. Every activity is monitored either by the operating system or a third party software. So those are called as a logger accounting. So every user, their activities are reported inside the operating system. They are stored inside the registry. Those data administrator or any person who are maintaining the security of the system can analyze the data and can say that whether the activities of the person is genuine or not. So this is possible only when you enable accounting. When you say that every system should log in, should report or should record the activities of the users, right? So that is the accounting part, and then is the cryptography. Cryptography is again is an important word, and then and there are a lot of protocols involved. So the cryptographic primitives like confidentiality, integrity, availability, authentication, non-regulations, which you have already covered yesterday, and you will cover more detail in subsequent lectures as well. So all those comes under the cryptographic word as well. So there are set of protocols which are usually discussed cryptography. So there are many courses in cryptography, because cryptography ensure the security aspects, and cryptography can be studied for the computer world, or it can be studied for the lightweight sensor devices. So if they are devices like sensor devices, which have the scarcity of resources, they have limited memory power, they have limited computational power, so they have lesser resources compared to computer or mobiles. So there is use of a lightweight cryptographic methods. So all of those categories like confidentiality, integrity, availability, authentications, all those falls in the lightweight cryptography aspects as well. There is a lightweight cryptography, there is a full-fledged cryptography features that there. And you might have heard about the quantum computers. So quantum cryptography is itself is on field, and the post-quantum cryptography word is there. Cryptography is having its own world. Large aspects, security aspects we usually cover in cybersecurity. Then there are security policies. So based on the infrastructures and the possibility of the security aspects, any organization decide their security policies. So in security policies, every employee is trained what they have to do when they enter the premises. First, they have to mark the attendance, and then if he's a academic person, he has a special position or a place where he has to sit, and he is also given the right to assess the classrooms. So if it is the administrator can only install or uninstall softwares, or they can maintain the network equipment. So faculty will not have the right to maintain the equipment. Only administrator, IT person will have the rights. So who has the what right and what everyone has to do in their daily routines? All those are written in the security policies. This is a brief about the security controls. If you are part of any organizations, these are the minimum set of security protocol controls which should be taken into account. Uh, so this was brief on security controls. Now, next one is an important part, OSI and the protocol stack. So if you are not able to understand OSI protocol and stack, don't worry about this. We start from the basics. Those are in CPSC or ICSC boards. Like I've seen their course curriculum. Those have opted the computer course. In their course, they have the OSI layering stacks. So they might be knowing a brief about those layering stacks. So let me teach you from the start. If you do not have any knowledge about OSI stacks, let us first understand how one person communicates with another person. So if there are two persons and they have to exchange their messages, then how they communicate? First, the person, the source person who want to send the message, first an idea will come to his mind. Yes, I want to communicate with my destination. So the first thing which generates an idea to a person mind, we usually phrase it as idea generation phase. So idea came to phase, we keep as one layer, which is idea generation phase. Then he will think in what terms or in what language my destination can understand my message. Whether he can understand my message in Hindi language, English language, Punjabi language, Urdu, or whatever it is. So he will try to understand about his destination. How can I better send my message to my destination? So then he will accordingly choose the syntax and semantics. So he knows what language my destination will be understanding. So accordingly he will select the syntax and semantics because every language is having their own set of syntax and semantics. So they will pick the syntax and semantics from their memory repository. So picking this syntax and semantic is the second phase. The first phase is the idea generation phase. Second is the syntax and semantic picking phase. And the third phase is your language conversion. So using those syntax and semantics, a language will be generated, right? So the proper sentences will be made. So once those proper sentences are made, which is part of the third layer, language generation phase, after those language generations, now person has to communicate his message. So what are the different ways a person can communicate his message to a destination? If the person is nearby, he can send a message through an air medium. If his person is a distant place, he will make a phone call using a telecommunication network. He has to send a message. If he do not want to use a telecommunication method, the other option is he has to send an email or a courier. He will write an email, sorry, not email, he will write a mail and he send to post uh, uh, his message. Right? There are different ways through which the message is communicated. So the last layer is the communication or the transmission phase or the layer. So there are different layers at the in a communication in a human to human communication. So after the source person has sent his message, what the destination person will do? He will first receive the message. If it is in a postal form, he's received the post. If it is in a telephone conversion, he will first pick the phone and then make answer. Or if it is an air medium, he will make his ear active to listen the message properly. So he will receive the message. So receiving a message is the first phase at the destination. So then he will understand the language. This destination person could be knowing multiple languages. So he will understand what type of language is used to convey the message. So then he will try to understand the syntax and semantics used to use in the language, right? So receiving message is one layer, language understanding is the second layer, and conversion back to a syntax semantic is the third layer, and um, the idea generation phase. What message the source want to convey, right? So that is an idea. He will try to get an idea what is this message. Then he will start a reverse process. The destination become a source, and source become destination, and they will exchange the messages, right? The same way in computer worlds also there are different layers at each computer. So if you consider OSI model, there are 7 layers. So these are the name of those 7 layers. So each computer is having these 7 layers. If you consider the TCP/IP hierarchical model, there are 4 layers, right? So each computer is having a different layers, and each of these layers is having different functionality. Now, at this stage, I'm not going in detail of each of these layer functionality, but what I'll say is the application layer is an app layer where the user interact. Whenever you're trying to access the internet, or you're using your mobile app, or using your computer app, you're interacting with the computer. So that is an application layer part. Whenever the user interact with the system, that is the functionality of the application layer. So similarly, there are functionality of the other layers as well. So whenever you are accessing the internet, you are typing http www.yahoo.com or google.com. So there you write http. If you are not writing it, it is auto programmed. So it will pick http or https. Right. Similarly, there are other protocols like SMTP, POP3, FTP, so file transfer protocol, post office protocol, simple mail transmission protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. So there are different set of protocols at each layer, right? So like a transport layer, there are transmission protocol, control protocol. UDP is the user datagram protocol. IP is internet protocol. This IP is nothing but IPv4 or IPv6. And then is a link layer. There are Ethernet card, the LAN card. So whenever there are physical entity involved, there comes the physical layer. But over physical layer also there are chips which are programmed. So in TCP/IP model, you see called as a link layer, right? So what I'm trying to say is there are multiple layers at each of the computers, and each of these layer is having their own set of protocols. Rules are there, right? So these protocols generate the data inside the computer, right? So let us cover another slide over this OSI model, as there are multiple layers. So there is a process called a data encapsulation, right? So there are multiple layers, and application layer is there, transmission layer is there, network layer is there, data link layer is there, physical layer is there. There are 5 layers considered in this slide. Like user interact with the application layer. The user will provide his data to an application layer. So that data goes to a transport layer. Transport layer will add the its protocol and the header part. So like on right hand side, if you see it is written TCP slash UDP header. So TCP slash UDP header is written. So TCP UDP are the protocols, and header is there is a header part which is attached with the data. So data from where the data came from application. So user provide the data to an application, which is sent to the transport layer, and transport layer adds the TCP and the UDP headers part. So that data goes further to a network layer, which adds the IP header. That goes to a further data link layer, which adds the frame header, or is also known as the data link layer header, right? So, and then it goes to the physical layer for actual transmission over a wire or wireless. So either using Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or any other short-range wireless technology, or the wired medium, the data is transmitted to the other system, right? So here the important point is to learn is every layer adds the header part. It is the data link layer only which add the trailer. So that is bit technical aspects. We cover why data link layer adds the trailer part, why not every other layer. So that is again a detailed discussion. I'm not going to that discussion, but this process where every layer is adding its header part, and along with data it goes to next layer which add their own header part, because there are multiple layers in each computer, and each layer is having their own set of functionalities which are mandatory part of communication. Right? So this complete part, when data goes from application layer to physical layer, and something is added to the data part, is called as data encapsulation procedure. Right? So when you want to analyze the data inside the computer network, you have understood that each layer adds the header part, right? So how does the header part look like? So this is one example. If IP layer, the network layer is using IP protocols, so you'll add this header. So along with data. So at the bottom there is a data which came from the top there. Along with data, it add more information. So it add the total length, the type of service, version, identification. So all of these details are having their own set of knowledge. So I'm not going much detail about these aspects. We cover these aspects in details because they are mathematics involved in understanding how these parameter and their value varies, right? So the important part to learn is there is a source internet address, destination internet address. So whenever two computers communicate among themselves, then who is communicating with whom? How you will identify this? If there is a proper information written here, what is the IP address of source? What is the IP address of destination? Then only the data or the packet inside the network will be able to understand from where I have to generate and where I have to go, right? So from where to where I have to transfer. Right? So that is understandable from this header format, right? So likewise, there are different set of protocols, and each of these protocols is having their own header path. So I'm not going much detail of these information. I'm just showing you that there are a lot of information which are stored with the help of different protocols. And in this cyber security world, at the beginning level, if you need to understand or collect the data from the computer network and data apply data analytics, you should be able to understand what these parameters are and how to collect this information, right? So I have taught you the overview of OSI, and I've taught you like there are different parameters are attached along with data to make complete network communication successful, right? So next part is set of experimentation is there are a lot of computers which are exchanging information among themselves. Like users are sitting on the computers and they are using the computer world and a lot of data is transmitted. Now how to collect those data, right? So how you can ethically connect those data, how you can unethically collect those data. So the first way of collecting data is how, if you are an attacker, so how unethically you can gather the information. So this is the initial level of experimentation. Now, just understand the importance of this with the help of the problem statement. Now, we know in India we have 7 nuclear power plants. So we have 7 nuclear power plants, and 4 or 5 are there in Rajasthan, a few are there in South India, right? So, but who controls the power plant in India? There is a corporation called Nuclear Power Corporation of India, which look after the IT things like their website, their set of servers and other things, and their functionality as well. So they have their website. So Nuclear Power Corporation having their website. So information about all those 7 nuclear power plants are there, and the future power projects, nuclear power projects information is also there, right? So uh, this nuclear power plant is having an IT domain as well. So there is need of computers to maintain their websites. Their users should be able to use the system properly. For that, there's a connectivity. There are SCADA systems there which connect the physical device with the computer, and it is much easier to control the nuclear devices uh, or other devices using computers, right? So there is a need of a computer network in the IT domain in this nuclear power system as well. Now, how an attacker can easily gather the information about the nuclear power plant, this computer network, their computer network, right? So if you on Google, you write Whois databases, there are large number of website being developed, right? So there is an attacker domain who develop the software and put it on open on the website, and the user can use like they are doing their job of creating the sites to hack the information, but they are not actually using it because they can be easily caught. So in order to provide this, they provide this facility to others. So intentionally or unintentionally, if users start using these services, they can gather the important information, which is not ethical way of collecting it. But anyway, those websites are there. If you on Google, you write Whois database. So then you'll find one of these site is a Whois in Lookup database is such ethical website which provide the domains, right? So if you write the URL of the nuclear power plant website, which is npcil.nic.in, you write just the URL of the website of nuclear power plant, and the click on the search, it will provide a lot of information. Like in India, especially in the government sector, all of the IT domains are controlled through National Informatics Center. So they have their head office in Delhi, but they have their divisional office at different locations. So each city, each major city is having their NIC office, right? So nuclear power plant website is also controlled through the National Informatics Center. So this is the first piece of information we will collect. And then you want to collect the name of the servers who resolve the website queries. So whenever you assess the nuclear website, that is a resolving a query. That is come under the concept of resolving a query. So if you have understood, like whenever you assess any website like www.yahoo.com, if you have observed carefully, at the bottom bar, it sometimes shows the IP address. The conversion of this name to an IP address is part of this naming mechanism, right? So as I told you, every system is identified with a unique number, not with a name. Two system can have a same name, but every system is having a unique number. So you can access any website either using a number or a name, right? So, but usually it is very difficult to remember the number because there are large number of millions of computers are there, millions of devices are there, right? So, what you do is you can easily remember the names: Yahoo.com, Google.com, Reddit.com, UPES.ac.in. These names are easy to remember, but at the back end, whenever you write these names are first converted into a number. So that is the naming conversion concept. So who does this job? There are servers. So if you see here the name server ns1.nic.in, ns6, ns8.nic.in. So these are the server and their names uh, which are doing this process. So you came to know there are three servers which are resolving these queries. And you also came to know the IP address of this website. And the third is the location, IP location. So there is a company called Acme Technologies Incorporation. So that is in California, USA. So who is having these servers? So servers are placed in USA. Although it is Indian website, but their servers are placed in USA for ensuring the security. So more and more information you are gathering from using this tool. If you go into further details, you will also came to know the name of the admin person, their home address, their office address, their name of the technical person who has the right to maintain these servers, and you also came to know the name servers, etc. Right? So then terrorists can easily approach those admins and technician persons if they want to disturb the network services, right? So it should be kept in secure places. So, but you are getting, as a layman person, also you are getting more and more information. If you go into more details of the IP address, so 23.62.67.10 was an IP address, was a public IP address of the website, NPCL website. And if you go into more detail using the same website, Whois Lookup, then you will find that these servers, NS1, NS6, NS8, those name servers are not just resolving the queries of this NPCL website. They also resolve the queries for Supreme Court of India and every domain of nic.in and the cyberspace kendra.gov.in as well. So if somebody is successfully able to disturb the services of these three servers NS1, NS6, and NS8. Then they can disturb Cyberspace Kendra functionalities, the Supreme Court of India functionality as well. So these are very important servers, but their information is available, right? So and if you go further into details, you can also get the latitude and longitude positions. So if you see this slide, you came to know the latitude and longitude position, 34.052. No, so Akamai Technologies is having 37.75 and minus 97.8. These are the latitude and the longitude positions. So, in this world, every object is having a unique latitude and longitude positions. So, and there are missile technologies which can help, where you can just feel latitude, longitude positions, and it can hit the target. So, getting this latitude and longitude positions is also is very dangerous. So, there are many toolkits available which provide such informations. So this is just a simple example, and this is a minimum set of information. I'm not saying that all these information are granted, are true, because to ensure the security, sometimes the fake entities are also filled in the database, right? So, but there are tools which provide the information, which may or may not be true. So, but likewise, there are facilities which can give more and more details. Like NMAP port scanning facilities is there, and this lookup website is giving you information about those ports open on a computers. Now, what is port? What do you mean by opening a port on a computer? All these need to be understood. If I give a layman example, if you go to a shopkeeper, right? So there are multiple workers working in a shop, and there are a large number of customers coming. So one customer will go to one worker, another will go to another worker. So the worker handles the customers, and their requirements are fulfilled. Likewise, happen in a computer also. In computer, there are multiple ports. So if one person is assessing some service, he will go to one port. Another will go to another port. If the same type of service is required, then one has to wait. If the requirement of the first person is fulfilled, then only he'll get the turn. So that way the computer world works, right? So getting this information, that what are the different ports, is very crucial, because what the attacker tried to do is he collect the information, what are the ports which are accepting the request on a computer, and what the attacker will do, he will keep that those ports always busy, right? So, for example, if shopkeepers are there and a large number of people came to a shop, and they will say that I need this, I need this, I need this, and they are saying, making their own request. So, a maximum period of time, those shopkeepers or the workers will be engaged in collecting the request. Yes, you need this. Okay. Yes, you need this. So there is a not systematic way of handling the request. So large number of requests are only coming, and the worker are busy in collecting the request on, right? So they are not able to give them the products because they do not have the time. So same happen in the computer world. Attacker keep on engaging the system by sending large number of requests, and system is busy in handling the request only. They are not able to fulfill the request. So this is the aim of getting what ports are active and who are accepting the request. This type of attack is a flooding attack, which comes under the denial of service category as well. So this is possible easily in a computer world, right? So those that was an open, that was tool available online, which you can easily hands on. They, apart from that, there are other tools like Wireshark as well. So Wireshark, if you go to Google, you install. I mean, their Windows system is just a click, click, click. You can easily download on Google write Wireshark. It give you a link to download the Wireshark. You can install 32-bit or 64-bit Wireshark easily, and you can do that. Those are the Linux user. There are set of instructions. So the first they have to write apt get installed Wireshark. or they can use other like utilities as well available over Linux. So then this is over the Ubuntu Linux, right? So there are different commands over different types of Linux. Then is DPK reconfigure Wireshark command. This they have to do. After doing this, Wireshark will start it will have a look like this. So like this, Wireshark is an important tool. Like you can see, it is providing very crucial, very important information. So inside the computer network, if you want to see who is communicating with whom, which system is sending the message, which system is receiving the message, all of this information is available. So if you do some more deep analysis, you also came to know what message they are exchanging. But for that, you need to work a bit harder. But if you do that, if you have the knowledge of proper doing this data analysis, you can get collect those information as well. Is giving the information at what time, which source IP address, and has sent the message, and who has received the message, what protocol they have used, what was the total length of the message they have sent, and there are other parameters, right? So in computer worlds, there are protocols which maintain the sequence of the activities, and those sequence activity knowledge can help the attacker as well to know who is doing what in the computer network, right? So lot of information can be collected. Like if you want to see, like I want to target some system, I want to know to whom they are sending the message, right? So you can write IP source is equal to this. This party is has sending the message, and you also came to know that where they have sent the message. Similarly, if you want to know who else is whosoever is sending message to my system, so you can write IP destination is equal to your machine IP address. You'll also came to know that who are sending a message to my system. So that helps an administrator also if you want to avoid the flooding attacks. That helps an attacker also to implement the flooding. So likewise, there are more and more information which you can do. Like TCP is important protocols. If you want to see in computer net in the complete network who are using the TCP protocols, just write TCP. It will filter out the information. So these are the few configuration-based experimentation. But there are many programming assignments which can be integrated with the Wireshark. It is giving the data, and you can apply the data analytics world. You can apply the machine learning, deep learning, and other features in this domain. Uh, so I guess the time is limited. I was instructed to give a lecture for 50 hours. Now I'm giving some time for any question answer.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed, informative session again. So we have learned a lot of new things. Participants, you all are required to, if you have any queries, please park your queries in the chat box. Uh, Faculties and the presenters are there to answer all your queries. Also, I have to make the same announcement which I made in the last two sessions. For the assignment, you have to write your name, workshop name, and the day. So for the sessions day is 3 today. So you have to write your name, your workshop name, and day 3 in the subject line of the email you'll be sending to inquiry@upes.ac.in. So to ensure e-certificate attendance in all the sessions, all 5 days are mandatory, and successfully submitting the assignments on the email ID inquiry@ups.ac.in is obligatory. So hope things are clear to you. For any queries, please park your questions in the chat box. We'll be happy to assist you on that. Thank you. Tripti ma'am, if you can help sir with the questions and in fact with the queries as well. So
I'm not able to see the chat box. I'm trying to do that.
So for that, please use Alt plus H.
Yeah,
So
I
once
tried
you'll
that. It's not showing.
okay, I request Tripti ma'am if you can help sir with the questions, so we'll be in a position to answer.
Yeah, hello Adesh sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Very
Sir,
good afternoon.
the first question that is being asked by most of the students is, what is the assignment for the day?
Like ma'am, I have given an assignment on Monday, and I've received a few submission only. So I'm not giving any assignment as of today because the same topic in continuation will be there in the next 2 days. So you people might be, the next speaker for tomorrow and the after tomorrow will be giving the assignment. So I have no assignment for today as of now. You have to complete your Monday assignment.
Yeah, and
Sir,
then,
students, this is an announcement. The students are not allowed to give Monday's assignment. So once the day is over, so they are not allowed to submit their assignment again. So if there is no assignment for today, we can leave that thing on the presenter. If there is no assignment, it's okay. But students are not allowed to submit their previous days or previous sessions assignment again. So the deadline
Okay.
is over to submit.
Right. So no Monday
okay,
assignment. Since the topic will be covered, will be continued by the other speakers. So they will be putting the assignment. No assignment from my side.
okay. There's a question from Rupesh.